Yep. Oh, ding ding, let's go. So I saw this interesting picture. Somebody had a patch on their backpack that said something like, heaven has boundaries, a gate, strict qualifications, and hell has open borders. So there are many layers to this. And if you live in the US, this goes on all over the world. So this is prefacing by saying this is not political, not in the slightest, because this concept plays out on all scales, from personal to interpersonal to neighborly, societal, and worldly. So where should we approach it? Well, we'll go from the obvious to the subtle. So, obviously, again, not political, not, geographical. We're just talking concepts here. The concepts that you have a situation, you have a thing going on, and you want certain things are going well within the area, and maybe some things stay, some things go. There are things beyond your specific area that you don't want to get in because you have a good thing going, minus some things here and there that you need clarifying. So be it. So the more we look at it, the more we realize that this framework, this situation plays out in so many different places. So we'll go with personal in terms of, okay, I have my mind, my emotions, my soul, my body, etc. And there are things that I want in my life, or we'll just start with the inner and then outer. So the boundaries of, look, I have things that are going for me in my body in terms of, I have thoughts that are working well for me. I have a routine. I have bodily, hygiene and diet choices that are working well for me. And then I may have bodily and mental, emotional things within me currently that I don't want. So right off the bat, there's an inner and outer. There is this is within me, physically and metaphysically. And there are some things that I want out. So if we're talking in and out, we're acknowledging that there is some sort of line, some sort of border where we're saying, look, there's a point where it's not me, so I'm not going to identify with it, so be it. Done deal. Okay, so now we're talking like the interpersonal, the societal, person to person, family, friend, co-worker, things like that. Now we're at that level, and it's even easier to discern what is and isn't for me, for my boundaries, right? And just as a reminder, when I'm saying my, this is inclusive in the sense of I'm saying my as an example for your my, right? For your I. Okay? All right. So the fact that now this is when boundaries become a little bit more obvious, where it's like, okay, I have this person in my life. There's a certain, like we're having a conversation, and there's a certain point where I'm like, okay, I want to cut it off. Whether or not this person over here is done talking, like I feel in my state of boundaries and qualifications and standards want to cut this off. Fair enough, plain and simple. So, the fact that this plays out on multiple levels, the point that I really want to drive home is that this is within our existence, and for us, we would be more wise to see the where and the how. We can see it, and that we can do our best to stay strong, because that's essentially the point that I'm trying to make about boundaries and standards, qualifications for you, for the I, where, like, I had a plastic box of spinach, and it's another perfect example where, this goes on all the time, where there's a box of spinach, or it could be a box of fruit, a little thing of strawberries or blueberries, whatever, where there's a point where whether you've, had the box for a few days or whatever, or maybe, you start to see or smell something where you're like, that something within that box, within that boundary, needs to get out. Like the stuff that's past its prime to take out of the box, so that the stuff that is past its prime, wilting and decaying, so that stuff doesn't mess with the stuff that's still healthy, nutritious, and optimally edible. It is such a symbolic example of our lives at multiple levels, where it's like, there's some stuff in your mind, there's some stuff in your heart and soul, in your body, in your daily routine, your hygiene, your diet, etc. There's stuff that you already know is past its prime, is obsolete, is doing more harm than good, and it's, whether or not you want to admit it, messing with the stuff that is actually working for you. On a soul level, on an instant eye level, right? Mind, emotions, body, on a social level, and beyond. There are things that are wilting, that are decaying, that are obsolete in your life, in multiple layers. And there's a part of you that knows that you would be wise in getting it out of your box, out of your boundaries, to actually listen to your standards. If you don't have any, go get some. To listen to your standards, your gusto, your yeses and your nos, your word is law, how all of that can go on, and for you to enact it, for you to say, you know what, I don't want open borders in my life on the heart and soul level and beyond, so therefore I'm going to do some spring cleaning, some clarifying, because once I clarify the decaying fruit in my being, the healthy stuff can be sustained, and in this particular analogy, to be expanded, to remain nutritious, so that we can go forth, keep ourselves stoic and gustoic, so that we can actually make our lives better. We can clarify and expand at the heart and soul level and beyond. Right? So, that's the sort of soul homework, if you will, because it doesn't have to be reserved for at the very beginning of the day or at the very end of the day, it can be just through, you're doing your throughways in life, your transition periods where it's like, you're not actively hardcore working. Maybe you're driving from place to place. Maybe you're having a bathroom break, having a walk, lunch break, and these thoughts and these feelings just pop up. And perhaps they are invitations, right? And they come in different ways. Voices, thoughts, visions, feelings, bodily sensations, intuitions that come up as invitations for you to observe, think about, feel about, to perhaps eventually do about. Perhaps, right? So, that's the framework. One of many, right? If you happen to take a look at my content in general, at this point I've got more than 130 videos, each its own framework, each its own necessary angle to approach, to understand, to invite the soul, the heart and soul, the I, right, on its very core level, right? When you think about I statements like, I'm so tired, or I'm so pumped, right? When you really say that with gusto, with heart and soul, it's like you're speaking from that core. It's really cool. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the more you realize how important words are. So, one of the few core reasons that I'm doing this content is like words, speaking from the soul. But yeah, it's quite the journey. So yeah, to wrap it up, boundaries, standards, qualifications for you, the I, from the heart and soul level and beyond, are not only important, they're necessary for clarifying and expanding you at the core and every aspect of your life beyond that. If you really want to change your life, if you really want to make your life better, get the wilted and decaying BS out of your soul, out of your routine, out of your friend group, out of your work-life balance, etc. Get all the BS out of there. Make more room for the good stuff. So the good stuff, right, to use a garden analogy, cut out the weeds. So the good stuff can get more nutrients more efficiently. Let's go. Woo! So there you go. I was going to give a peace out, but I like to end the video with respects, right? Mantra, prayer, meditation, contemplation, journaling, all that stuff. I'd argue that it's essential, but you can find that out for yourself. Anyway, much respect to you, much respect to me, much respect to our ability to communicate, our ability to survive this ridiculous yet sacred world, right? Subtitle for my first book, check it out. If you want consulting, hit me up. Much respect to this world, this life, much respect to God, whatever you want to call it, for providing all of this, right? The planetary bodies, for Earth, these elements that help us stay alive, that keep us challenged, but not so challenged that we're like, spear and, loincloth fighting for our lives, right? The fact that we're born in this era, right? Call it what you will, but it's a lot easier than it had been in the past. So much respect to the creative force giving us all of this sustainability, and much respect to you and all humans for making it happen. This is Mr. Mike. Peace out.